Archetypal enchantment, the use of trance to activate archetypes. The activation of archetypes through enchantment is extremely powerful and can be used to control you by bypassing your conscious mind. Archetypal enchantments are often accomplished by technology. Archetypes that are commonly activated with enchantment techniques are the Aries or Mars military archetype, Tyche or Fortuna gambling, Artemis, Diana, Demeter, Ceres, hunting and gathering. Armed forces, the Aries, Mars archetype. Armies have been using enchantment techniques on soldiers for thousands of years. How else do you get an ordinary person to put their lives at great risk and kill others for poor wages and conditions? Armies tap into an archetype called the warrior or Aries Mars archetype. Archetypes, being of the unconscious, have an otherworldly quality. In ancient civilizations they were thus often represented as deities, and the warrior archetype is represented by Ares, the ancient Greek name, and Mars, ancient Roman. We have hardwired into us an unconscious motivation to come to the aid of our tribe when it is threatened by another tribe and fight with our tribe against the other. Rituals, symbols, music and so on. With the emergence of civilizations and nations, armies and other branches of the military adopted powerful techniques to impose the archetypal warrior enchantment. Today's armies use ritual and symbols, military music, drums, common clothing, insignia, formality of address and drill, marching and presenting arms. The idea of the soldier is merged with the idea of the regiment and the soldier's comrades. There is a lot of repetition, marching and weapons training. The training includes fear and pain. The emphasis is on training, discipline and acting instinctively, that is, without rational thought. The soldier is trained to the point where he or she should act unconsciously. This leads to extreme feats of bravery, sacrifice and endurance of hardship, as well as callousness and brutality. As the enchantment wears off, retired soldiers often suffer post-traumatic stress. If in the military, realise you will be in trance. If you are conscripted or choose a career in the military and see action or are exposed to intensive training, you will not be able to function without going into the warrior enchantment. However, it is important that you realise that there is an entranced part of your psyche and seek help if necessary to maintain your mental health when you leave. Whilst you are under the enchantment, you are psychologically protected up to a point by the dissociation accompanying the enchantment. But this protection ceases when the enchantment wears off. This is particularly the case where the cause for which you fought falls into popular disfavour or becomes irrelevant, and this is increasingly occurring. Sport. Competitive sport is a way of ritualising and safely dealing with the Aries Mars archetype. It permits the expression of the archetype without the death and destruction caused by war. When you are intensively engaged in competitive sport, you are in a trance state. You are also in trance when engaged in intense sport such as gym work or long-distance running. Generally, these trances are healthy and beneficial so long as they are not carried to extremes. Gambling. The Tyche Fortuna, Demeter Ceres, Artemis Diana archetypes. Today, one of the most pernicious forms of entrancement is the bewitchment induced by gambling. As noted, Similar archetypes are often blended together or overlapping. Gambling taps into the fortune archetype and the hunter-gatherer archetype. The goddesses of gambling include the Greek goddess Tyche and the Roman goddess Fortuna. The gatherer archetype is represented by the Greek goddess Demeter, Ceres to the Romans. The hunter archetype is represented by the Greek goddess Artemis, Diana to the Romans. I use the term bewitchment here because the archetypes concerned here are generally feminine. Today's gamblers who have no knowledge of Greek or Roman mythology refer to Tyche and Fortuna as Lady Luck. What is gambling? Gambling, at least commercial gambling, is the staking of money on the outcome of a random number generator. In other words, you put your money down, a random number generator is activated, and the result determines whether you win or lose. Random number generators can be as small as dice or as large as a racetrack. They combine randomness but produce an explicit result. Gambling is circular. The author, Max Beerbohm, explained the gambler's emotions, the proper tremors before a coup, the proper throes during a coup, the proper thrill of joy or anguish after a coup. A coup is the determination of a gambling event, the turn of the card, the fall of the dice, the falling of a ball into a pocket on the roulette wheel. The constant circular repetition of stake, event and outcome can easily give rise to bewitchment, and if the experience is made sufficiently intense, an inescapable bewitchment known in modern terminology as an addictive trance. Positive reinforcement operant conditioning. The famous 1960s USA behavioural psychologist B.F. Skinner was a psychologist and was not, as far as I know, a hypnotist. He described a process of positive reinforcement operant conditioning. Positive reinforcement occurs when a behaviour response is followed by a stimulus that is appetitive or rewarding, increasing the frequency of that behaviour. Skinner put rats in boxes equipped with a food dispenser operated by a lever. The rats learnt to press the lever and receive a pellet of food. The delivery of the pellet reinforced the rat's motivation to press the lever. Skinner experimented with reinforcement schedules. He delivered a pellet every time the lever was pressed, or every second, third, 10th time, etc. Then he introduced randomness, what he called the variable ratio schedule, and to quote Skinner, there are a very large number of schedules and they have their special effects, and there is a good example of how you can move from the pigeon, he carried out the same experiment with pigeons, to the human case, because one of the schedules that is very effective with rats or pigeons is what we call the variable ratio schedule, and that is the heart of all gambling devices and has the same effect. A pigeon can become a pathological gambler, just as a person can. Now, the fact that we found that out with pigeons and could prove it by removing and changing the schedule makes it easy for us to interpret the case with the human subject. What Skinner was observing in humans playing gaming machines was an archetypal trance, a bewitchment. With the hunter-gatherer archetype, humans are hardwired to keep going in the face of adversity where they encounter randomness, particularly if they get near misses. Now, a human is not a rat. Ideally, the human's rational mind should override positive reinforcement operant conditioning. But if the experience is concentrated and intense, as is the case with gaming machines, the player is bewitched and the rational mind is shut out. The player is caught up in a bewitchment from which the player cannot escape. Factors affecting the bewitching quality of gambling. The bewitching quality of gambling depends on reinforcement schedule, that is the distribution and amount of prizes, the apparent edge, that is how much the gambler appears to have the advantage, the rapidity of play, the fascinating design, that is spinning wheels, bouncing dice, flipping over of cards, the environment, such as the casino or the racetrack, and symbolism. The case of gaming machines. Take the case of the type of gambling that is causing the most problems, the real gaming machine. These gaming machines are variously described as pokies, slot machines, real gaming machines, electronic gaming machines, or EGMs, and video lottery terminals, VLTs. They all use spinning reels. The reinforcement schedule. The stake on gaming machines can be as little as cents or as much as hundreds of dollars. The range of prizes paid out vary from a few cents to thousands of dollars and even more with linked jackpots. Some machines are designed to have many small payouts known as low volatility, and other machines are designed to have fewer but larger payouts, high volatility. The more plentiful small payouts, known as teasers, help to keep the player playing in the hope of a big win. Machines can be designed to alter their volatility where the machine senses the player is becoming fatigued to increase the chance of a small teaser payout to keep the player going. Player fatigue can be sensed by variations in the push rate or by cameras in the machines measuring the blink rate. A person blinks less when relaxed and more when stressed. Apparent edge, near misses, real starving. Many real gaming machines use real starving to make the odds look better. To understand real starving, you have to understand that the machines score left to right. So, if you get 3 kings in a row, you get a payout. With real starving, the machine designer starves one reel of kings, that is, puts less kings on that reel. So you keep getting 2 kings, but rarely 3. The same is done with the other symbols. I have calculated on one machine that if the symbols were evenly spread across the reels, a player would win tens of thousands of dollars a day. Real starving works on both single-line machines and multi-line machines. Single-line machines, popular in the USA, can be designed not only with real starving, but also with virtual reel mapping. Virtual reel mapping is computer software that reduces the chance of winning symbols appearing on the middle line, the scoring line. Both real starving and mapping give near misses to make the odds look in your favour and which keep you playing in the misguided expectation of a win. A good YouTube video on this is IP11 : Greg Dunlap, DUNLAP, are slot machines rigged? Apparent edge, losses disguised as wins. Losses disguised as wins. On multi-line machines, you can make multiple bets on different lines. Thus, you may place 20 bets on one spin. The chances are good that one of the 20 lines will be a winning bet, and if that happens, the machine lights up and plays winning music and says something like, "You're a winner." The problem is, this does not take into account losing bets, and if you stake 50 cents a line on the 20 lines with a total bet of $10 and win one line paying $2.50, the machine still counts this as a win, although you're out of pocket $7.50. Thus, bewitched, credulous, and under the power of the machine, you are exposed over and over again to the hypnotic suggestion, you're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner, when in fact you're losing. If you want to see more on this, see the YouTube videos of Professor Kevin Harrigan, Harrigan, of the University of Waterloo. Fascinating design. Real gaming machines have a rate of play of about one spin every 3 seconds. This rapid spinning of the reels and the reading of the reels from left to right causes the gambler to intently focus on the screen and to blot out other thoughts and feelings. This is an application of hypnosis by fascination, fascinatio, which is the classic form of mandeb used by the ancient Egyptians and reintroduced under the name hypnosis by the 19th century Scottish surgeon James Braid. The fascination is augmented by repetitive music and by the rhythmic pressing of the button on the machine. Some machines have a biofeedback mechanism which matches the rhythm of the machine to the rhythm of the player, just as a flamenco dancer and guitarist will tune into each other, and an African trance drummer will match his drumming to the movements of the dancer. The bewitchment induced by these machines is known in the industry as the zone. Note here that where enchantment or bewitchment is employed, it is sometimes given another name such as the zone, focusing, immersive experience, or guided meditation, to avoid alerting the subject to the fact that they are being hypnotized. I could give many examples of the experiences recounted by the problem gamblers telling of their bewitchment. The bewitchment induced by real gaming machines can become so deep the player will lose control of his or her bladder where they are sitting. Environment. The environment of the casinos is supportive of bewitchment. The gambler is supported by others under the same spell who are all focused on their machines, so there is company and safety whilst at the same time anonymity. And, of course, a group trance. The room is filled with winning music and announcements, and from time to time other players strike jackpots. Bewitched players tend to play in the remote areas, taking their stakes from auto-teller machines where possible, to avoid human interaction which may break the bewitchment. Symbolism. In a state of bewitchment, the mind has a heightened receptivity to symbolism, as I've already discussed. In Australia, a disproportionate number of gambling addicts were playing machines with life, death, rebirth symbolism, all with a feminine quality. For example, I met 3 former addicts at one function. 2 women played a machine based on hearts, and a man had lost everything, including his house and wife, playing a machine based on the goddess Isis. Other machines have been designed with symbolism directed at abused women. You do not have to understand these symbols at the conscious level for them to be very potent. Their very potency comes from their ability to bypass the conscious mind, speak direct to the subconscious, and activate archetypal content. The real gaming machine is the outstanding example of a bewitching device combining every feature, but it's not necessary for a gambling product to have all the features.